I used to have a vision board in my office that was a collection of all the goals I aspired to achieve. New York Times bestseller, better abs, house in London, the usual stuff we pull when asked to dream big with no limits. I kept the board right beside my desk, and so every day when I walked into my office, I would look at it and think about how much better my life would be if I could just have all these things that I wanted. What I discovered, though, was that this vision board was actually pretty demotivating because it not only defined success as something outside of me, but it wrapped it up in achievements I didn't have. Around 2011, when I had just started my career coaching business, but I wasn't as deep into the mindfulness work yet, I got one of my first really heartfelt emails from a woman who read a post on my blog that had helped her. And as I was reading her story, I started to cry. At first it was a touched kind of cry, but it quickly morphed into an ugly kind of cry because I was taking in the content of her email while looking at my vision board. And it just came together for me in that moment that the way I was defining success was clearly misguided. That day, I took down my vision board, put up a plain cork board, and pinned a copy of the woman's email right in the center. And as I slowly began to get more feedback from readers, I kept pinning them to the board until eventually the whole thing was covered and I couldn't see the cork anymore. And from just that small step, focusing on giving instead of getting, what I began to notice over time was that I became so much happier, and the energy of lack and comparison that I had been stuck in for so long began to lift. Of course, thank you notes aren't typically how we're taught to define our success. Obviously, the vast majority of messaging that we receive asks us to define ourselves by those things we put on our vision boards that typically reflect the what's of life. What job do you want? What impact do you want? What body, partner, or cool beach would make you happy? And it's not that you shouldn't consider those things. The problem is only when you start with them. Because when you put the doing before the being, what happens is that you either stay locked into perpetual striving mode, or when you do get that thing you've always wanted, whether it's a job or a relationship or a big opportunity, you won't be able to hold it because the container of who you are is too small. And so what we're going to cover today is how to anchor into something much larger than the goal of the moment, which is the only way you can achieve that goal anyway. In this video, I'm going to share a powerful tool that I use with coaching clients called the Virtues, Intentions, and Goals Pyramid that will help you define your personal values so you always have a quick filter for your decision making and a way to get back into alignment with what matters most to you. And so to get started, what I'd like for you to do is to take the handout for this training, and if you haven't already completed the free write, I'd like you to pause this video and take about 5 to 10 minutes to write about a leader that you deeply respect and why. This can be someone that you've known or worked with personally, or it could be someone you've never met. What's important isn't so much the individual as much as identifying the qualities they possess that you find so admirable. It's that why question. Why do you respect this person so much that we're going for? So just take a few minutes now to finish that exercise on the handout because it's critical to have that completed if you want to take advantage of everything that we're going to do in the rest of this session. Now, if you look at your Virtues, Intentions, and Goals pyramid in your handout, you'll see that virtues are at the bottom, and above virtues is intentions, and the point at the top is goals. And as these pyramids go, virtues aren't at the bottom because they're the least important. They're at the bottom because they're the most important and the foundation that supports everything else. And so as you can see, what we're doing here is flipping the measurement of success from achieving a goal someday to embodying a virtue right now. And so what I'd like you to do next is to go back over what you wrote about the leader that you respect and look for the qualities about this person that stand out to you. Usually when we respect a trait in someone else, it's because it's something that we want to reflect in ourselves. And so just read through your response and circle any words that represent a quality that you would like to embody. Take a moment to pause this video and do that now. Okay, so now what I'd like for you to do is to look at all the words that you've circled and choose 2 that mean the most to you. And then I'd like you to write these 2 words in the virtues section of your pyramid and really allow them to sink in. If you don't feel a deep, almost primal connection to the words that you've chosen. And I want you to go back and choose again, because what you're looking for here is to select 2 virtues that inspire and energize you because they represent a truth that you hold as a core part of your character. Go ahead and select your 2 virtues now. All right, now that you've chosen your 2 virtues, you're certainly welcome to go around telling folks about them, but I think we both know that people will only believe you when your behaviors match your words. And so this is where intentions come into play. As you consider the 2 words that you've selected as your virtues, the next step is to list 2 specific actions that you can take every day that would be in alignment with each of them. So, for example, let's say that one of your virtues is service. In that case, what would it look like if you embodied service at work? What would it mean for the way that you communicate with other people or the way that you carry yourself? So I'd like you to pause this video again and write 2 specific actions that you can take for each of your 2 virtues, and then write them in the intentions part of the pyramid, keeping in mind that the whole point of this exercise is to be purposeful about your behavior, and more importantly, to be purposeful about the way you're connecting to other people. By now you should have 3 things completed so far: the free write on the leader you respect, 2 virtues that you want to personify, and 2 intentions for each of your virtues. Hopefully at this point you're getting more clarity around what you value and beginning to understand the habits that will allow you to live in alignment with what matters most every day. And so to wrap up our pyramid here, you can see that virtues are listed as your evergreen self, intentions are listed as your present self, and goals are listed as your future self. And again, what this means is that virtues are the things about you that are unchanging and non-negotiable no matter what happens in your life. Intentions are the actions that you take in the present every single day that bring you back into alignment with your virtues, and goals are what you hope to achieve down the road. When this video ends, I invite you to take a moment and write your goals at the top of the big pyramid. But before you do, keep in mind that the framework behind this whole concept is that what you achieve is the outcome of your daily process. So in other words, everything on the vision boards that we're calling goals, those are outcomes. They're the end result and not always inside of our control. If you've ever had a goal take longer to achieve than you've hoped, or you've ever done everything right and you still didn't get it, you know what I'm talking about here. And so what the big pyramid allows you to do is to shift your focus from what you can't control, which is the result, to what you can control, which is how you show up for the process. And just to be clear, this does not mean that you don't set goals. It only means that you're not in the trap of attaching your self-worth to goals and allowing your emotional state to go up and down relative to whether or not you achieve them. So in other words, your focus isn't on whether you got the goal, but whether you showed up as the best of who you are. That's the only thing that's inside of your control and what should be the real GPS of your mind. And I promise, if you plug in virtues as your destination, you will not get lost because you'll always have a true north guiding your way to intelligent, composed decision-making that you can be proud of and that other people will want to follow as well.